have made it to Stu and the Nunn, an online radio show that looks to inform, educate, and hopefully make you laugh. Stu and the Nunn is a show focused on national security, policy, politics, and selfless service. We do this by not only interviewing guests, but also sharing our own perspectives and asking you, the listener, to interact with us on our show chat room via our Facebook page and on Twitter. Like to thank those who make this show possible and allow us to bring it to you. Our show sponsors are Commodity Outdoors, Veteran Outdoors, Enlisted 9 Fight Company, Warrior Media Solutions, and BooHammer.com. That's it, everyone. Welcome to another episode. Let me move my mic here. Another episode of Stu and the Nunn here on September 17th. Constitution Day. Found out today, Toby. Constitution Day. Did not even know that was a day. My wife educated me about that today, and like all good wives, she keeps me in line. So yeah, Constitution Day today. Who would have known? How you doing, buddy?
So good, but like, what part of the Constitution was done today? Like, is this like a random day, or is this a Hallmark deal?
No, it is. It's an American.
I feel like I'm going to get struck by lightning.
No.
It's probably on the immigration test, and Lamigra is watching me right now.
That's right.
They're going to shut me. They're going to wreck my shit.
You may want to know this, right? It is an American federal observance. It recognizes the adoption of the U.S. Constitution and those who have become U.S. citizens. It is normally observed on September 17th, the day in 1787 the delegates Constitutional Convention signed the document in Philadelphia. I am 51 years old, patriot as can be, served this country, grown up with a military ID card since the day I was born, and I never knew this.
You said 1787?
1787. Write that shit down when you get to that part on the test.
So it took him 10 years to get that straight.
Yeah. Well, they had to pass it around. They didn't have FedEx. They couldn't email it.
No,
they couldn't email it. They had to put it on a horse.
They didn't even have the Pony Express back then.
Didn't even have the Pony Express. Nope, they sure didn't. So that's today. So welcome, my brother, to the. And I told Bobby I was going to hide his video, but actually I forgot to do that. So Bobby, they can see you. So I want to welcome our guest on tonight.
Bush League as always.
Bush League as always. I did not get that. We were talking too much before. And Mr. Bobby, I guess how do you say it? Villarreal?
Villarreal. In English.
Okay. In English, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's
I'm Mexican, and I did jump the border, so whatever. So I am testing you, Nunn.
Yeah.
So you're on test now.
I got to make sure my people think the citizenship test is easy. Like they think it's a gimme.
No,
they think it's a layup. That's why I just panicked. I was like, oh, this is a real thing. I just wrote it down. I wrote down everything you said. I was like, I better go back and learn that.
Well, if you get to that part on the test, you can then just send my wife wonderful flowers because she educated me on that, and she wouldn't have. I never would have known, and you wouldn't have known. So,
no, I'm blessed.
Yeah,
to have so much support on that test. It's almost like cheating.
For someone that has went to war twice for this country, you would think that you would not be still having to take a test or still having to deal with this. But yes, one day, my friend, you will.
No, there's always a test. There's always a test. But it's good to be back. I missed last week. I was up at Joint Base Lewis McChord, but to real war fighters, it's called Fort Lewis.
That's right.
And we had a good time up there. Got to see some infantrymen doing the thing, and then we took some of them on a really cool fishing adventure, and it just kind of somber to be up there around the September 11th weekend, and we
your old stomping ground. I mean,
it was that's like tomahawks.
Yeah,
like that's what's up. And but it around that time is we lost a couple of our guys, and so we were able to bring some of those guys back you know, that were with them, and kind of have like this really cool adventure, go see the units, and it's just neat. It was a little smoky though, I gotta tell you.
No,
It was a little smoky.
you
It
suck.
was a little smoky.
You had some side effects from that, huh? Yeah, I imagine it's pretty bad. I know it's bad out there, but yeah, I saw that. We were with our good buddy John Kaiser up there. Went out, did some fishing, slaying some salmon. I hope, and hopefully giving some guys a chance of a lifetime to do some phenomenal fishing. That
We definitely saw some action, and it was nice. It was real nice.
and that is part
So
of
it was
that.
like
That was part of Veteran Outdoors, right? Our great sponsor.
absolutely, absolutely.
Along with
Veteran Outdoors always.
at,
And when we say sponsor, we mean someone that we like to share their message, and other people we like to share the message. Veterans for Child Rescue, Pin Up for Vets, Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation, all those organizations we support because they're people doing good things for different reasons, but they all do great things.
Yep,
But let's hop into it. We got Bobby V.
that's right.
Bobby V on the air, and so one of the things that's kind of neat about this is everybody's met a chief, you know, right? Like everybody's met a chief, but have you met a chief?
Super
Like,
chief.
like, dun, 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 you know, like, you know, do you get your own call sign like when you're a super chief? Like,
Yeah,
like it's no longer like, you know, our guy spent some time, you know, with the 160th, you know, and everyone, you know, from Hollywood fame will know that, you know, the call signs for the guys in Mogadishu were like super, you know, like with tail rotor, you know, 6'4", 6'1", 6'2". Like when you're a chief, do they give you like super chief, and then like a numeric number like 5?
Or do you just get to pick a cool
randomly.
animal or
Yeah,
rodent or
like
something?
ostrich 5'5" on super chief ostrich 5'5" coming in.
well, well, hell, y'all putting me on the spot. But before I start with the chief and the warrant officer freaking portion of the 160th, just a shout out to the old man, to the president. I mean, because it is such a special day today, he actually signed an executive order today to force schools to teach the Constitution and teach the American way of life, which
That's
is what
crazy,
a lot of
right?
schools, yeah, I know it was. You probably wouldn't have seen it unless you're watching Fox News because nobody showed it. But it was one of the things that he signed today, saying forcing schools a executive order saying that you will teach, you know, American history, the way it was taught when we were in school.
I saw that today. I cannot imagine. I cannot think that I ever would have guessed it would have taken that. Right, that it would take in the
right?
president.
I thought it was a duffel blog thing. I didn't think that was real.
I mean, yeah,
that was actually real because he was noticing that, and he actually, in his speech, he was actually pointing out to liberal professors in colleges that are actually not teaching it. They're like teaching their own thing. So now it puts the onus on the professors and the schools that if you're not teaching it, there you go. Exactly. So if you're not teaching it, you ain't going to get federal funding. So you do what you want to do.
Yeah.
So shout out to him. But anyways, so once you become a chief, you do get a call sign. So my nickname was Bobby V. I got that from an old commander in my first unit before I was in the 160th. And when I got to 3rd Battalion, there was like 5 Roberts, and my nickname just stuck. But as far as for call signs, those are VSSLs. So for those who don't know, that every time we deploy somewhere, we get a series of call signs, and they switch out weekly, and sometimes depends on the mission, but it prevents if anybody's tapping into our communication to determine who it is that's flying. So the super was something that they were given. In our organization, we were each given individual call signs. We, in 3rd Battalion Alpha Company, the Blackhawks, we were Shadows, and I was Shadow 26. That was my original call sign, and then my nickname was Bobby V. But eventually, my call sign turned into a Dirty Hooker. So,
all right.
So at some point, you get to get out of the company call sign, and you get one specially assigned like that, huh?
Yeah, because like the Dirty Hooker now is I took once before I became a W5, I took a job as liaison officer for Southern Command, SOC South, Special Operations Command South. And so anytime I was doing any time of exercises down there with the groups and stuff, I would get on the radio because I did a lot of the coordination. So when they heard Dirty Hooker, it was like I was coordinating. It was me who I was talking. And I was given that from the ground force because I was just a Dirty Hooker.
You were wheeling and dealing, right? Making things happen.
Yeah, always. Just,
meanwhile, like General Mulholland is getting jacked up.
Yeah, I took more freaking ass chewings from ambassadors and senators. Yeah, it was freaking bad. But you know what? In the end, we always looked good. I took the ass chewings, and you know what? We got funding, and so we were down there just, you know, jigging and jiving, doing what we needed to do. So that's how I got that. So
kind of like what I would expect the Dirty Hooker would be doing.
Yeah, just freaking just hook us out and just get us jobs and get us work. Because if we're not working, then we don't matter.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing I used to tell my guys all the time, because it gets to a point sometimes when you're downrange and you're just working your ass off and you're flying and everybody wants you and you're always just killing it out there, and everybody wants us out there. Not to say, because when we come and we bring a gamut of assets, it was just the fact that it wears us out, and then eventually our luck runs out. And when you start seeing your buddies freaking get, you know, lit up, you start like, you know, you're only as good as your last mission. So it turns into like the cockroaches. So you get a lot of that shit, but you know, you're only as good as the last thing you did, so you're always trying to do better.
Yeah.
And fortunately, there's guys like us that did a lot of shit, and we just keep pushing them. And I used to get a lot of shit from them, from the guys on the ground, you know, my own guys saying, why you keep hooking us? You know, you're just signing us up. I'm like, dude, if you're not flying, then you don't fucking matter. So always remember
that. That almost sounds like something they would say in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hey, so favorite power plant? I mean, favorite airframe, the Black Hawk. That was kind of your go-to. That's who you kind of rolled with.
Yeah, I flew. Yes.
Are you a speed demon? Is that why?
No, the Black Hawk. No, originally, I mean, when you go to flight school, you fly like the 407s. You fly all these trainers. But when I went to flight school, it was everybody was going Apache, because that was like the big.
Because there's a Nicolas Cage movie.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not even kidding, because it was
Firebirds, man. Like
everybody wanted to be an attack guy. It was just like, but I knew better because I was an infantry guy, and I was like, fuck that. The guys who fly, you know, we're like the fucking ash and trash. If you know, they're always out. So. So a lot of guys, from the very beginning wanted to be a Black Hawk guy because I knew what they can do and I knew where I wanted to go, and so I got it. But you know, I had a lot of good friends that came from Apache units and assault units and 58 units and had to do the transition when they got to us as Black Hawk pilots, and then they really learned how to freaking bend steel in the air, because it's, you know, it's what we did. So it was a eye opener for a lot of them, but a lot of them were very experienced pilots, well experienced.
I mean, you have to be to get in that unit, right? We haven't even got into your career, but I mean, that's not a unit that branches send you orders to. I mean, it's a interview, trial, selection process, right?
Yeah, the selection process is what's unlike a lot of the other soft organizations. For us, I mean, it's a week assessment just to get accepted to get into the flight program. And the flight programs go from 8 months to a year. You know, the shortest one is a year, or actually the shortest was a Black Hawk one. We were like almost like 7 months. So it's between 7 to a year, depending on what we're doing. And now it kind of changes, but like the Black Hawk for me was right about 7 months by the time you get to become a pilot in command. Now, understand that when you come to the unit, you're already a pilot in command in the unit that you left.
Right. You already have seniority.
You got to show up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you show up and you have to be a co-pilot. So you're looking...
Starting all over.
You start from scratch. It's almost like starting a 2-year flight program, because you're only The only way you're going to be kept in the 160th is if you make pilot in command. The rest of the shit, nothing matters before that. I mean, it doesn't. And you have, you get there, you got 18 months from the time. That's before all the after the training that you took, which averages, 4 or 5 months. And then you got an additional 18 months to make pilot in command. And if you don't make it, you're out. And it's like, thank you for your service and fuck off.
And go back.
I have a really good friend that longtime Apache guy, warrant officer, extremely accomplished as an Apache guy. Tons of hours, tons of dark hours. Just an impressive guy. He's transitioning to that unit now, and he's going to Chinooks. And it's like, you got this dude that was the ultimate stud, the ultimate attack stud, gets selected, and he's going to like a whole different animal, dual rotor, just like big old Betty,
big old bus in the sky, like big old bus in the sky.
But it's like, and he's accomplished, and he's got a lot, and it's like going back and being a private, and it takes a special discipline, and that's what makes that unit so strong, is just the willingness, for people to humble themselves before that, where so many other people will be like, I don't know if you know this, but I'm kind of a pilot, that's basically a big deal. And like, I'm the coolest guy in the room. I don't know if you noticed, like, they don't make sunglasses called infantry, right? They only make aviators. So like, eat a bag. I'm a pilot. And and to go back and humble yourself like that, it's a testament to the caliber of guys that they have there, and the technical,
well, they're parking at Eagle, right? They're parking at Eagle, and like I say, they're humbling themselves.
For sure.
And they're that's how you prune them out. And I'm sure, Bobby, you've seen. I mean, that's some people probably come in there with attitude, and they probably get taken down a notch or two, or get sent packing.
Especially the guys with the call signs.
I was notorious for being that guy once I became tenured, to pull the guys aside and talk to them and be like, look, dude, you're fucking up. Because a lot of the guys, I would say, when you're in those organizations, there's a lot of type A personality. Just like in any soft unit, it's like, you're the new guy, you got to prove yourself. Like, just shut up and freaking color within the lines. It's like that. It's hard. It's tough. You're like, you got fridge bitches. I mean, you're a freaking W3, United States Army, with freaking 15 years in, and your job is to stock the refrigerator for a W2, the pilot in command. Imagine
that's gotta hurt.
Imagine a W4. I mean, I was in there 2000, but look, during the surge, when we started getting a lot of W4s, senior 4s, and you having a W2 pilot in command and he's his co-pilot.
Because it's about time in the unit, right?
Sitting there, and he's a fridge bitch, and that fridge bitch job doesn't end when you're downrange, because you're in charge of going to the chow hall, getting food, running, like when we're sitting at idle at a FARP or whatever, waiting on the ground, the call out. You're sitting there. We eat in the aircraft. We shit, piss, eat, do everything in the aircraft. So anybody who thinks that being a pilot is all great, that's good if you like to freaking sleep in a freaking, I guess it would be a heat box when it's summer and a freaking ice box when it's winter, because we sleep in our aircraft. Well, we do. But, it does have its good points and bad points. But, yeah, imagine a W4, like, rolling and being like, hey, Bobby, W3, do you want a Coke? Sure.
I got the Coke Zero. They didn't have it at the regular chow hall. I had to go 4 chow halls over.
That'd be like the E7 doing that for an E5, right? It'd be like an E5 going, "Hey, sorry, first class, go get me a cup of coffee and a Coke."
Yeah, I'm gonna need those gummy bears now, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Let's rewind a little bit, because we kind of jumped off into like the cool guy stuff. But let's go back in the day and talk about a young man entering into the military. One of the reasons why you understood the battle space so well is because of how you entered the military. You entered the military as an infantryman.
Yep.
And had that back, what they used to call the old RIP contract. and found yourself down at the lovely town of Savannah. And so let's talk about that. Let's talk about how your career progressed and the decision to move on from that. Not that you made a bad choice, you made a good choice, but like somewhere in there was a choice, and there was probably a reason for it. So let's dive into that real fast.
All right, good. Well, I joined in '88. I went into the buddy program with my twin brother, and we left Brownsville, Texas. That's where I'm from, born and raised. And went to San Antonio, did it. Yep, yeah, good old down here. So went San Antonio, ended up Fort Benning, Georgia, with my brother, and we always thought that they were going to split us up, but everybody thought it was cool to keep two brothers together. So we ended up at Sand Hill in Fort Benning, Sand Hill, Georgia, and we started basic training, the same freaking platoon. Two twin brothers.
Identical twin?
Roster,
identical twin brothers.
Oh, yes. Drill sergeants had a blast.
Sequential like roster numbers too, right? Like,
yes, we got.
Who had the lowest number? Who's the oldest?
My brother's the oldest. I'm the youngest.
Yeah.
So we're separated by 30 minutes, but he was the older, because that's every time it was like, who's the older? And it's like, so he had the higher roster number. So, I mean, we went to basic training together. We did well. I mean, I went there fit. Back in the day, we were fit, not like they are sadly now. But so one of the things in the Army back in the day was, if you're fit, you're freaking automatically put in leadership positions. So, and we got dogged out a lot. There was times where he was like a squad leader, and then he had the platoon sergeant position. So I was always backing his play. So it made it easy. But anyways, we went from, we were 11 X-rays, so, unassigned airborne. And so while we were in base, so from there, we were already going from basic training to airborne school. So we show up to airborne school, again, thinking we're going to get separated. They kept us in the same platoon. Same freaking jump platoon. I did my 5 jumps in airborne school with my brother.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty
3, 4, 1, and 2, just something. They always thought it was the coolest thing. I mean, I didn't know any better. I was 18 years old, little kid from South Texas. I was just like, whatever. If I can have we even roomed together for 3 weeks in airborne school.
Man, y'all must have had some fun down at the Hidden Door Club on a weekend off with identical twins.
Oh, well, no, we didn't, because I was only 18 back in the day. It was 21, so we couldn't do anything. So
couldn't even go to the gas
I didn't go to Hidden Door till back later, way later. For those of those who are listening, know what the Hidden Door is, or Little Richard.
I don't know. I don't know what you boys are talking about.
Yeah,
that must have been on DD Drive.
The Gaslight, I think, was the other one. Something like that.
So once it was, I think we had like a layover or something for weather. Anyways, the RIP instructors came looking for volunteers, and they asked for volunteers. I didn't know what a Ranger was back then, and they showed us these. They took us into a room, showed us these videos, and got suckered in, just like I got suckered into the Army. And a week after not flights, but airborne school, I'm sitting in RIP with my twin brother, fucking getting our
still getting smoked. Yeah, getting
and he
smoked.
Was like, at some point in time, whichever one of you made the decision to do RIP, like you looked at each other and were like, "My bad."
Actually, to be honest with you, it was like I'm not even kidding, because when we did the Army thing, it was like my idea. And then when we did the airborne thing, he looked, or the not the airborne thing, but the RIP thing, he looked at me. He's like, "Oh, we need to do that shit."
Was there a lot of competition? Was a lot of it like, "I'm gonna do it. You want to do it?" Was there a lot of that as you guys came up?
Yes,
even in basic and AIT, right? Every challenge, everything thrown out to you.
Every challenge, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you were going to be outdone.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So in basic training, I actually had one of the other guys come at me because he was fucking with my brother. And he started talking shit to me, and we ended up getting into a fist fight on the field during our field problem, and we went at it. I mean, because he was fucking with my brother, because I was always my brother. We're like polar opposites. Like I'm the high. he's a high strung kind of like freaking out, and I'm the calmer guy. But once you get me spooled up, it's like we switch. So, and we feed off each other. So ultimately, I was doing the fighting while he was watching my back. So that's kind of like the way it worked. So one makes a decision. I mean, at that point, we were always together. We worked it. We made it all the way to the end. So it was always like, and I guess that was a whole theory behind the buddy program. Is like you have somebody to kind of do stuff with.
Right.
A lot of dudes have a hard time being individuals, and which you learn that later in life. But
so
when you're 18 years old and you have somebody to do something with you, it's much easier to do it with.
So who brought who in? If I remember right, the buddy program, since I came in just right before you did, whoever recruited the other one got the rank, right? Got like E3 or E2 or something. You got some automatic.
No, they ranked because we were in ROTC, so we automatically came in.
Oh, okay.
E3.
So you both came in.
So it didn't matter.
All right.
So did someone get like a bonus, like a cash bonus? Well, I'm bringing this other recruit
who looks like me and has the same name.
Dude, I wish we didn't have we were unassigned.
That maps are like bullshit.
Yeah.
We had no idea what we were doing. All we knew is we wanted to jump out of planes, and that was kind of like the theory behind it. But once we got to RIP, we maxed our PT test, and of course, when back in battalion, if you can freaking run and run and road march, you're automatically put in leadership position. It's like strength is power.
Yeah.
So, and then from there, the RIP Sergeant Major said, "Where do you guys want to go?" And I was like, I had no idea. I was honest, and I said, I used to do all the talking and my brother used to just stay quiet. But I was like, anywhere with this water. And he's like, we'll send you to Savannah. And that's how that ended.
That's how you got there.
Like,
I mean, there's water up near Fort Lewis, but it's a lot closer to Savannah than it is Lewis, and it's not too warm.
Yeah, it was Fort Benning, so yeah, so we ended up, but I think it was already set up because just about 3/4 of our RIP class ended up in Savannah,
right.
And we end up in Savannah, and again, we think we're getting separated, and they put us in the same company, Bravo Company, 1st Battalion, Bravo Company, 3rd Platoon.
Wow.
And we got fucked with.
Oh.
I mean, I am not kidding. We got fucked with something fierce.
Twins? Yes.
Yes. I mean, it was consistent. And the thing was, when we got there was another set of twins in Charlie Company, the Knesick brothers. And they came over, and they were already E5s to see the next set of twins. And I would honestly say that those were the guys. They came in, just kind of like closed the door, and I'm like, oh, goddamn, another goddamn E5. And they freaking sat us down and said, don't fucking quit. Whatever you do, don't fucking quit. You don't let him quit, and you don't let him quit. And both of them were in there. So we never quit.
Yeah. That's interesting you say that, because guys I served with in Alaska, Byers were the last name. They were twins. And they were both Ranger bat, one of the bats, and they worked their way back and forth between Ranger battalions in Alaska. But they came to Alaska together, both E7s. I think, or one might have been one E6 at E7 when it came up, and it was identical twins. It's really interesting how that so many come in. So you came in, went to Just Cause, Desert Shield, Desert Storm. So you're a fellow Desert Storm vet, did that, and then found your way to being a Ranger Instructor, being an RI, and at what point did you and your brother split? What point did you guys' careers start to take different paths? Don't tell me you guys flew together.
No. I never got to fly him, but a lot of people ran into him when I was downrange. But no, so when we became E5 promotables is when the Ranger Regiment kind of starts getting rid of you, because there's only so many positions. So at that point, there was a big promotion party, we called it, like the promotion era when Ranger Battalion was getting promoted. So that's when a decision had to be made to who was leaving. So there was only one slot open. It was between my brother and I said, well, I just got married, and I was like, well, I'll just leave. So we were going to do a flip of the coin. The first sergeant said, there's one spot, you both can't have it. Of course, you're not going to. And so one of you gets in. I was like, I'm good. I'm out. So I'll let him have it. Nice. So I ended up leaving for the Florida Ranger camp, and he did a year. But then he ended up, the Sergeant Major Nefkin, who was in charge, or who was a Sergeant Major when we were there, he ended up being the Command Sergeant Major at the Florida Ranger camp. So like a year and a half, like when I got there, like within a couple months, he shows up as Sergeant Major, you know, and he remembered me, and he's like, "How's your brother doing?" Blah blah. He's like, "Okay, well, he wants, because I would tell him like, dude, you need to come down here. This is freaking best kept secret." It's like, this is freaking badass.
Yeah, you want to be near water? That's water.
Yeah, and there was, but even, you know, so the only other event that he did after I left was sitting on USS America over the Haiti event. So, you know, with the 160th and everybody was you know, off the coast of Haiti. So that was the event they did. But, you know, whatever. We were already fucking gone.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, I mean, just he ended up coming, and then we were RIs together at the Florida Ranger Camp.
Oh, you were?
In the same company. Yes.
So he did come down.
That's got tripped. That's got messed with people's heads. They're like,
well,
I just saw that dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it turned into.
They're everywhere.
That RI never leaves. He's always here.
So one of the things that the Ranger students get to do is at the end of the course, they get to give like end of course critiques. And I used to get Sergeant Villarreal is the worst. That guy is the worst Ranger instructor ever. And it's only because they always thought it was the same dude, you know? So you see the same name over. I mean, come on, you're in Ranger school. You don't eat, you don't sleep, but they remember one name because when I was out walking, he was in walking. Right. So, you know, and it's 48 hours. It's 40 or what was it? 40 a day and a half. So 36 hours on, 48 hours off. So we're always like.
That's what I mean. You guys were never. One of you was always there. That's where they were.
Yes,
like.
there was always one there, and we looked exactly the same. So they always saw that name, and there was like critiques about he did this and he did that, and I'm like, I'm not, you know, like. You know, Sergeant Villarreal, I was a platoon sergeant leader. So I was like a squad leader evaluator, but the guys that were critiquing me were the guys who were being evaluated as a platoon leader or a platoon sergeant. So they were saying Sergeant Villarreal, you know, did this and did that. And you knew they were like, they just remember that name out of all the instructors, you know, and it got pretty bad because we were there for 3 years and there's a couple of times where they're like, okay, we're going to separate you guys because it's getting bad.
That name is there's probably a lot of former Rangers and guys maybe still in that just that name is burned into their memory, right? They're just like that Villarreal.
Yeah, I actually had one of my co-pilots was a 2nd Ranger Battalion guy, and he remembered me because I was his evaluator.
Oh, really?
And he remembered me. He goes, you have a twin brother. When he first showed up to the unit, W2, young guy, he's like, you have a twin brother, you were a Ranger instructor. I said, yeah. He goes, you gave me an evaluation, and he described it to me, like the event, because we jumped in, and I was like, oh, because we got hung up in the trees.
Oh,
so they jumped us, and that's why I remembered it.
Yeah. And
he started describing it. I was like, oh shit, you're the platoon sergeant that day. He goes, yeah. I was like, oh yeah, I remember you. He goes, you're a dick. I'm like, yeah.
Like there's a major minus involved.
Yeah. Hey,
yeah, major minuses it was. I know but he ended up getting. That's it. Did I give you a go?
Yeah.
I just remember
he's like, no, that's why I'm a pilot now, asshole.
Hey, you should have slipped away from the trees.
Ruined my dreams.
You should have slipped away. They dropped us in a fort. You still should have slipped away. You should know better. Don't be doing that. But so somewhere along the way, you decided to be. What triggered it? You said, I'm ready to hang up the beret, that time the black beret, and try to be a pilot. What because I almost would become a pilot myself during my career. I just kind of had this moment where I was like, I'm done with the infantry thing. I want to go fly birds.
Well, one thing about the Florida Ranger Camp was we're so close to Fort Rucker, Alabama, that we had one of the exercises, which was a big event, the big mission that brings everybody in, they jump in and then they do a couple days of exercise, and they come out and then they do this big infill. So there was a big coordinated event where the Fort Rucker pilots, student pilots, would fly the student Rangers into their next exercise. And so during that time, one of our Ranger instructors, anytime there was like those big high-vis things, the installation general was always there. So one of our Ranger instructors went and talked to him, just walked up to him and said, I'm a Ranger, what do I need to do to become a pilot, blah, blah. And he started the nut roll to get a bunch of us to start becoming pilots. And so ultimately during that time, my brother had been there about 2.5 years, and he had just got married, so he wanted to stay. He didn't like. He had no interest in flying whatsoever. Like fuck that. That's for pussies. Blah blah. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't care. So that's when we did I did my application, and I just and got accepted. And ultimately, we had like 12 freaking Ranger instructors end up in flight school.
Oh
Wow.
wow.
Within in the same, I'm not. I swear to God, 12, and we ended up like within months of each other. So we kept running into back then, flights. Now flight school is like almost like 2 years or some shit, from what I understand. But back then it was within within a year. If you did not graduate flight school, there's something going on because of bubbles and stuff like that. But we would always run into each other at Fort Rucker, and so that's when I decided. I mean, ultimately, I did 2 tries, got turned down twice. When I did my third try, I was right at my age limit, and I got picked up.
Okay.
And
And then
so and then
so you went and flew in Germany. Were you flying Blackhawks right away, right? So you got right
yes,
into Blackhawks.
yeah,
That was your
that was
airframe.
my first unit. Yeah.
And then decided somewhere along the way try out for the 160th because you just always try to go
Well,
above and beyond, or
yeah. So when we were there, we did the Kosovo event back with Albania, and they were freaking fighting each other and killing the Muslims and the Catholics were killing, or the Christians were killing each other. We ended up going down there, and the 160th brought recruiters because they have a huge recruiting team. I mean, they don't fuck around when it comes to recruiting. They send people everywhere. So they had this big podium and videos and shit like that, and a briefing. And I said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna assess." And but I had already known about them when I was in flight school, but I was like, I don't think I'm good enough. But I started, I sat there in the brief, talked to some of the guys, and they're like, "Yeah, just come and assess." And went assessed and got picked up.
so you got in there, and
Yeah,
then you spent pretty much your whole career in the 160th after that, right? Deploying
yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
hours and that kind of stuff. And
yeah,
I guess in what you've seen, and you've seen a ton, right? You've been during Freedom, Iraqi Freedom, New Dawn, every deployment in GWAT essentially, in every operation. Um, and looking back, I'm kind of have you just kind of reflect a little bit. But looking back over that, is there anything that stands out that is one of those events? I mean, a lot of us have them, but that when you think about it, you're like, I'll never forget about that incident, that person, that event, that one thing just burned itself in my memory, whether sad, good, anything like that. Is there anything that you witnessed or experienced that you think just stands out across your entire career?
yeah. I mean, the biggest thing is we went after. So when we were down there, I mean, we were like separated. So you had you got the guys from Fort Campbell who were supporting one group of guys, one SOC group, and then you had a conglomerate of third and now fourth battalion um, supporting another group of guys. But I would honestly say the one thing that stood out the most and was the fact that I once had a commander, and this is gonna be a fucking bust in my freaking in the chops of a dude, and he knows who he is, and any 160th gal will know who that fucker is. Was the
Like
fact that
he's that famous.
we're all down there, dude. I'm telling you, we're all fucking sitting down there. Yeah, you're supporting these fucking cool guys, and we're supporting these not so cool guys, but they're like one level down. But we're all fucking out and fucking jumping the wire every time. Fucking basically, we're scrambling rats so they can find the king rat, you know. So I remember there was a time where we were sitting in a fucking regimental commander sitting out there, and one of our and I'm just a W3 back then, just fucking coloring in the lines, and we're talking about, hey, how come you only why aren't we spreading the wealth as far as who we're supporting? Because it just makes better pilots in the 160th. And that motherfucker sat there and looked straight in our eyes and said, well, somebody's got to fucking wash the windows. And I was like, motherfucker, your ass sits in that fucking talk every fucking day, watches us do our fucking shit. You did You did a platoon leader job, you did staff job, you did this, you did that. You know, it's almost like the one thing that stood out was the fact that within our own organization, we still had a hierarchy, but yet we were all fucking deploying.
Right.
At the same time, looking across the fucking field from each other. But just because of who you were freaking flying and who we're flying, we're just treated like fucking redheaded stepchildren. So that was such a fucking demoralizing freaking event that I was like.
And he was a commander, and he's a commander in the 160th, which shows that people slip through, right?
Yeah, he was just one of those pieces of shit where if I could have taken, if he was on fire, I would have watched him fucking burn. Sadly, but he was a fucking piece of shit. But, you know, you fast forward 2 or 3 years, and then everybody's flying everybody.
Right.
It didn't fucking matter. It did not fucking matter. You showed up, you're flying from the A team all the way down to the fucking C team. It didn't fucking matter who you were flying. Every mission fucking counted.
Because it was just hot and heavy. You needed every pilot and every airframe.
Yeah, but because we were so because we were over deployed. But it was that mentality within our organization that created a hierarchy, which were you like. So let me put it, the perfect example. I've been in the 160th 5 years. I get this fucking co-pilot shows up to 1st Battalion talking shit to me. And I break his teeth in the chow hall.
Yes.
So
bringing it back Sand Hill style.
And then I ended up like getting like in trouble and shit. But
yeah, they usually.
But how much trouble do you really get in as a chief?
Not really. They just said
they're like
it turned. It almost honestly it turned into like it didn't happen.
It was like
but I was only a W3 back then.
Oh,
like whatever. Like, you're like still like he was any warrant
talking shit and
was he also W3?
Like,
was he also W3?
He was a W3 talking shit, and I just freaking like we went at it, and I went at it. I mean, he just kind of like whatever
took it,
but so it just never happened because it was in such an embarrassment.
Yeah.
To you know, I mean, I'm like. I couldn't. In looking back, I'm like, I can't even believe I was hitting a fucking another dude. Like,
and this was in the chow hall.
It was right outside the chow hall.
You know, Joe was just watching. Joe was just watching 2 warrant officers fight. Like, I don't know what to do, but I ain't getting in the middle.
Well, the thing was, we didn't wear rank, so I mean, he knew who I was, and I knew who he was. We just knew each other just because we sit in the brace. So he knew who I was, but he made some fucking stupid fucking comment, and I knew his pilot in command. You know, his pilot in command was just as fucking arrogant as him. And so I can't hit a W4, but I can definitely hit a W3.
There are limits.
So.
Even if he's a fridge bitch.
Yeah, that's what kind of stands out. So in the big picture, it's good times.
That's not what I was expecting.
And I'm not a fighter. dude. I just had
we heard about you. We heard about you when you defended your brother. And you got in a fight in basic, and then now in...
You're saying you're not, but there's a pattern.
There's a pattern.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, that it is. Have you ever thought about the UFC? Have you ever thought about the UFC at all? I don't know. But,
no, I don't think I'm a good... I don't fight. Like, I just hit and just... I guess I can... I don't know. Like, he was fucking me up, too. We were fucking each other up. But the fact that I went at him was... kind of like after that it was just I was like nobody would fuck with me, like not even the senior guys are like, oh, like no.
No one likes getting punched in the face.
Yeah, especially especially pretty boy pilots, right? And pretty boy pilots don't want to get messed up.
Like especially on your way into the chow hall, you get your teeth loosened, you can't eat the food, you can't enjoy it. Like on the way out of the chow hall is another thing, but hey, so let's talk about the RGV. You know, because for those people tuning in that are listening to us from abroad, which means outside Texas, like Stu is listening to us definitely from another country right now. They call it York and New, and but let's talk about the RGV. And the reason why I talk about the RGV is because a lot of great guys and gals come out of the RGV and join the military. And a lot of people don't know that. And the reason I'm bringing it up, and for the people that are abroad, outside Texas, listening, the RGV is the Rio Grande Valley, which is the border between Texas and Mexico. And so a lot of people have this vision in their mind of this economically depressed area, this, like super crap area, but it's a very fertile land.
Yeah.
Huge agriculture comes out of there. There's some great education systems down there in terms of like UT Pan America, and like there's some like fantastic stuff coming out of there. You went to a high school that was uppity enough to have a ROTC program, or you went to a school that was uppity enough to have an ROTC program, and people don't realize how important and how crucial and how great that area is. I love the RGV for more reasons than just Dahlia's tamales, but I love the RGV. Yeah, they're the best. I know. Like there's no denying. But lately, in the past couple of years, America's been fixated with the RGV without even knowing what they're fixated on because of the border, and it's a real thing there. It's a real place of prosperity, and because it's a real place of prosperity across this very thin body of water is disparity. And so it's like, what's it like to return, one, triumphantly, after a great career serving this wonderful nation and having the experiences that you've had for decades, and achieving it. You're the very first CW5 I've ever talked to. Like, I made chief jokes earlier, but like it's impressive. You just don't, that just doesn't, you don't see that commonly. You don't see that very often. And you go back to the RGV, and now the political climate away from there has changed. There it's the same. And like, how would you tell people that are listening how y'all live being that close to the disparity, and to thrive the way you guys do, and why is that even possible?
Well, I would honestly say I was gone for 30 years. I left when I was 18 years old and came and visited a couple of times. But I'm going to say this too: if anybody ever has any opportunity to visit, if you can vacation or whatever, one of the things about RGV is that we have South Padre Island.
Mm-hmm.
And we have hunting, we have fishing, we have culture. And it's amazing because the cities have lost culture. One thing about Brownsville, Texas, it's never lost its culture. Never. Like it's almost like the world revolves, like all of Texas is changing. You have everybody's moving to Dallas, Houston, El Paso, whatever. But Brownsville, the RGV stays isolated. They're still old school, like machoism. They're still like, the old school ways. There's no like feminism doesn't happen here. It doesn't. Like it doesn't happen. It's just old school culture. And so kind of when you talk about disparity, the disparity that occurs, yeah, it occurs across the board, and it's just the line,
Right.
But anybody who's ever served in the Army, you go from your nice whatever, you may have a 1-bedroom condo, whatever, but it's 10 times better than the shithole that you're going to sleep in when you go across the pond. And that's exactly what happens here too. But the thing is that you never lose your culture. You never lose your way of life. And that's what's made Brownsville so successful. One of the things about our education program, or a lot of the colleges here, like the Northern College, like Austin, Houston, they call it Taco College. Okay, great. But here,
that just means you have a better chow hall.
Yeah, obviously. Now, actually, the food here is ridiculous. No, but the thing is, it's like Okay, great. We may be taco college, but our college is taught bilingual. You know, your college is just taught in English, but yet you leave Texas and you take off with that Southern Hispanic accent, and you're the same taco that you're making fun of in RGV
Yeah.
because you don't leave. Your accent doesn't leave you. You know, maybe your education was better, but your accent makes you just as much taco as I am. So a lot of people don't freaking realize that whole concept of Houston down or Houston north is that the accent, the taco's it's embedded in you. So, but even within ourselves, there's a hierarchy, and I listen to a lot of people here where they talk about how like so everybody asked me the first thing they asked me was like, why did you come back? I mean, you could have gone to Houston, you could have gone to San Antonio, you could have gone anywhere. I said because this place never lost its culture. It's never lost it. I mean, our heritage is still solid. People still believe in parents are freaking number one. If mom says something, we freaking listen to. You know, if you speak out to your mom, she gives you a fucking slap in the back of the fucking head.
And so does the neighbor's mom.
Yeah, and the neighbor's mom, and everybody fucking tells on you. So you can't go around just freaking running your suck because every freaking body knows. But sometimes, so the rat shit gets segregated from the rest of it. You know, so it's almost kind of like everybody knows everything about everybody, but it keeps people in line. So don't be an asshole.
So
and one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this is because I love it down there, and it reminds me of growing. I grew up in the bush, you know, up on the on a different border, but you know, you didn't step sideways because everyone was accountable, and everyone could hold you accountable, and anyone could admonish you at any time, and that's because adults were in charge,
right.
You know, and you know. There was a comment from a great SF guy in the chat room on Facebook, Tom Mead.
Oh, you're gonna say
and
it.
You know, I wasn't gonna say.
I was gonna ask.
Shard.
No, I was gonna ask. Tom's good question there.
No, but no. One of the reasons why you don't have the problems that they have. I live north of Austin. I live in a small town north of Austin called Georgetown, but you know, Austin's getting run amok right now because people aren't admonishing these kids. No one's holding these kids responsible.
Right.
The culture is gone. It's a cultureless place. And they say that, oh, well, Austin has, you know, all this awesome culture. Well, what it has is some really great restaurants.
Right.
And it's got some really good music.
It's got good music.
But but that's not its own culture. If you want to say what its culture is, when its culture is running amok saying defund the police and throwing, you know, bottles at people. Like Antifa, as Tom's saying, ain't showing up in Brownsville. Like people don't go to a place where they catch a whooping.
No.
Right.
You know, like there's some like
but it's not just
older lady with some chocolates that she's willing to chuck at you, and there's a wooden spoon that's like on its way out on a fast draw. Right. To keep people from misbehaving. And one of the things that's so disappointing right now is, you know, like I was just in the Pacific Northwest, and I couldn't believe how many vehicles were decorated with anti-police things. And part of me was like, is this brilliant? You know, are they smart? They're like writing F the police. So like if they get pulled over, they can be like, well, you targeted me. You know, like, and part of me was like, should I put that on my motorcycle just so I go faster? But no, all kidding aside, it was mind-blowing how brazen and how bold and how accepted this bad behavior is. But yet when you go to these areas that, you know, have unflexible standards, and I mean, you live in a community that's heavily patrolled by multiple agents of law enforcement. I bet you can't go anywhere in Brownsville without at least touching in a 20-minute span, 4 agencies.
Yes.
You know, be it a sheriff, be it a Brownsville PD, be it DHS, or be it some other federal agency. Like, I almost like was going to quote the freaking Boondock Saints. I can't even go buy a pack of cigarettes.
Correct. No, you're right. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah. And there's a reason why, like, people are like, that's horrible. How would you enjoy living like that? Comfortably.
Safely.
It is.
Yeah. So what
It
do
is.
you, so
I'm going to honestly say to you, the first time, you know, I got here, so I retired in Savannah, Georgia. Then I came here back in January to visit my family. My dad got sick. And it's the reason why, and I sold everything and came down here. So I got here in May, but I reconnected with a lot of my friends and stuff. And a lot, so, you know, Brownsville has its, you know, it's got its Trump supporters and it's got its Biden supporters, you know, but one of the things that we noted, like I was like talking to friends and stuff, and we're talking about Black Lives Matter and stuff. People post that shit, but for the most part, people just post that shit on Facebook, you know. But in reality, I was talking to a good friend of mine who she's been here forever, and she was like, "We don't give a fuck about that shit. Like, we don't care. Yeah. Like, we're not gonna change. Like, there's no way that if I can guarantee you, if they come down here, there was like maybe 10 protests, like 10 people protesting shit. Everybody fucking ignored them, like whatever. But I can tell you, if that shit came down here, you would have like the chaos that you would have the police stopping the civilians from crushing them. I am not kidding. I'm not kidding, because there's no way that you're going to have that shit happen here, because it's not. Of course, you got people posting this and that and a bunch of kids, because, you know, TikTok and all that shit's got them. The young kids don't freaking know any better. But you would have no shit, like family. I mean, you would have dudes out there like
cleaning house. Yeah.
Yes. And you know what? And the police here, you would have the police trying to freaking stop the civilians from crushing skulls.
So what do you think, Bob? What do you think? I mean, obviously, it's not just a problem in Northwest Territories, even a couple of the big cities, and there's definitely other cities like Brownsville and towns and communities, you know, especially in the what we call the flyover states and areas that would not put up with it either. But what do you? I mean, we've had a few guests on. We've been talking about this for a while, and you know, good friend of ours, you know, last year received the Medal of Honor. Dave Bellavia has been on a show more than anybody, and guest hosted. And he even said the last time he was on, he felt that this country, and that was probably back in Toby, May, I think we had him on, May or June. You know, he even said he felt we were just 2 steps away from a full-blown revolution in this country.
Yeah, like,
and this guy, and he's uber connected with everything that's going on and very active. And it's just, I mean, what we're seeing, the warring factions. I'm curious. I mean, obviously, you're about my age. I mean, we're in Toby's age, and we've seen what we've seen in the last 40 to 50 years. But, I mean, from your perspective, growing up in Brownsville, right there on the Mexico border, right there in the valley and all that stuff, and everything you've seen across the globe and all your deployments, I mean, just what are your reflections on this country and how divisive it is? And do you think it is that divisive? Do you think it's the media perpetuating this divisiveness, or are there people? We keep saying on November 3rd, half this country is going to burn. Like, half this country is going to be pissed off about something, and who knows what it's going to bring. Just curious what your thoughts are on that.
No, well, I mean, I don't want to be here. How do I put this to not like piss people off? Because I mean, the media is actually what pisses everybody off, and that's where you get the thoughts of like this country's upside down and stuff. But when you actually go walk around, like I thought being in Brownsville, Texas, as a liberal, democratic, mostly community, it's peace here. I mean, in reality, it's just peaceful. Like, people have their differences, but we still go out and drink beers and people talk shit, you know. But I think all we see is in the media what they want us to see, to riot, to get guys schooled up, to think that we're going to go to war and shit, because it's just human instinct is like, you believe what you believe, and either fuck you, but you're correct. Half of the country is going to be pissed off. But in reality, I think that half of the country is not half of the country. It's just a half of the country that's being created. So the cities are going, and that half of the country is something that's being created by the media. Because if you look at the state maps, if you look at red between blue, you're looking at New York, you're looking at Delaware, these, all these liberal states, they'll burn them fucking selves out of the fucking, but you know what? All they're going to do is freaking burn their own shit, because everybody who fucking wants to have peace and shit is moving to the southeast, or they're moving to the south. Ultimately, I think it's just a figment of the media creating this divisiveness, making people pissed off to try to create, ultimately what's going to happen is like, okay, violence meets violence. Ultimately, there is a fucking million goddamn veterans that will come in, and freaking the police is not going to be able to stop them. And you're just going to have a million fucking veterans go to arms, and they're just going to start taking people out. And you know what? The first people they're going to get taken out is the head of the snake, which is the media. So one of the things I learned about Kosovo was the fact that a lot of the media that was being freaking published from Kosovo was freaking detached media. You know why? Because anybody that was sitting or trying to film or video in Kosovo, those were the first fucking targets. Like if you had a camera in your hand, you were gonna fucking be whacked. Yeah. Like you were the first dude. So any of these freaking Antifa guys and all these guys are carrying cell phones, dude, you're the first one that's gonna get whacked. You're gonna get shot in the face. I mean, it's ultimately. I mean, you denial is like, I don't know what you're talking about, and everybody's got cell phones and shit. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because at this point in the way that we are, it's like you have veterans, and there's more than 1 million of us are eventually gonna get freaking fed up, because these little riots that are taking place, they're taking place by little head sheds, and then you got these guys, and of course you have leaders and you have sheep, and then you have all these people, opportunists. Half the fuckers that are out there are just opportunists.
It's not even. I think it's more than veterans, though. I keep calling it the quiet majority. I think it's the same quiet majority that happened in 2016 of why the election.
I bet there's a lot of small business owners that feel the same way.
Yeah, it's the people that know. I was just talking to my neighbor about this. Right, the people, just like in 2016, that aren't liberal, ultra liberal, they just stay quiet, because they know if they say anything, people just are gonna in their ear, and so they don't put the signs in the yard. They don't put the signs in the yard. They don't say anything. They just stay quiet. They know how they're gonna make their voice heard when they go in the ballot box, right? And they're just, they don't want to catch hell from their family. They don't want people saying dumb shit on Facebook. They just stay quiet and go along their way. And I think that's what caught this country by surprise in 2016. I think it's going to be a bigger surprise this time.
And I believe so. I mean, it's going to happen, and of course, the media is going to spin it. But you have our freedom of speech, but our First Amendment that protects us from it, and protects us from people. Freedom of speech is not free, because ultimately, what's going on now is it's being oppressed. Because I mean, they're only giving one side of the freaking story. All you hear. There's no way our freaking president can do what it's doing. I mean, I don't care who the fuck the president is. I give two fucks who it is. But goddamn, 95% of his freaking stories are negative. Come on, really? I mean, if there's censorship, I would ask, aren't we witnessing in 2020 freaking media censorship? Because all they're doing is freaking publishing fucking one side of a story. I mean, seriously. And I'm telling you, the way to fix it is get rid of the media. So, like I say, in Kosovo, I medevac more freaking media fuckers, because they were getting shot in the face, getting shot in the arm, getting fucked up, because the other side saw that that's what was hurting their cause, the media. Yeah. So I would tell the media people, like, watch what you fucking put out, because eventually you're going to be the fucking target.
Well, I mean, we're seeing it, last night there was the town hall, the town hall of like uncommitted voters, and man, I'm pretty sure every single one of those was committed to the other side, because it was just like, this media ambush, and of the president, and you watch the press briefings, from the White House. It's just constant like attempts at I got you, and no, it is you know, yeah, like Rob just put in the chat room, you know, people are calling these things distractions, you know, and then you have people partnering with them. You know, it's a, you know, like in this case, the Speaker of the House is saying that one of the greatest peace deals that's ever happened.
Correct.
Like, I mean,
Is a
I remember
distraction.
when I was a kid, like there'd be all these, you know, like all the Miss America pageants and stuff like that, or like, what do you want, little Mary Joe? I want peace in the Middle East, you know, and like,
Yeah.
and guess what happened? Delivered.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, Toby,
And
we
you got-
talked about
and
look at
now it's like, well,
look
that's
at what he
just a
did with North
distraction.
Korea, right? And look what he did with
Yeah.
North Korea. And you and I've talked about it both being on the peninsula before, and the media still spun that and tried to say, oh, look, they did this, they did like that was something that was record setting, is historic. This UAE Bahrain deal was historic. We saw lowest in ever numbers in unemployment, Hispanics, blacks, females. We saw an economy that bounced, all this stuff. And as you said, Bobby, 95% negative. Like nobody can find positive in that. And in fact, when someone does say something positive, it's a governor of the two most liberal states there are, California and New York, say one time positive, and everyone freaks out because finally, because they had no choice. They could
Right.
not refute the support they were getting by the administration. They had to say, you really helped us out. And it probably hurt them to say that. But it's
Yeah.
going to be on a never-ending reel, because I mean but finally someone, but you get this glimpse of honesty, but only because their backs, they can't say anything but positive, because they were truly have been helped out regardless of what their disagreements are with the administration. You know, it is
Right.
it's just pitiful that it is 95% negative. And what's sad is the media, I think the American people are more sick than just the media being negative, that they look at the media thinking that they think they're that dumb. I think the American people are going, you really think we're that stupid? You know, you don't get it?
That's what makes it. That's the funny part about it, because you have these reporters out there just asking these stupid freaking questions. I'm not an educated guy. You went to freaking media school, I have all these degrees, and I'm looking at them like, you're an idiot. Like, I mean, how are you fucking breathing? Like, I mean, seriously, if I was like, I mean, you want to fight, stick your head up your ass and fight for air, man. Because seriously, that fight would probably be more fucking entertaining than the questions that you're fucking asking a sitting fucking president. God damn. I'm like, just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, and that's what I'm like, dude, I don't even know how you fucking breathe. You know, it's just, and I watch it, and I watch both sides. I watch, and people don't like Fox News, but one thing I like about that place is they have their both liberals, but then I watch ABC, NBC. But Jesus Christ, I mean, I'm just like, when I get done with those other channels, I'm like, Jesus Christ, how the fuck does anybody want to be a freaking American with these jackasses fucking talking shit all the time? I'm like, geez, well, honestly, you get rid of that, and all of a sudden the world would be so much fucking better. Get rid of those fucking goddamn channels and those media people, and you start I guarantee you, and I don't want to instigate anything, but you start getting rid of some of them fucking liberal media people, and then all of a sudden shit changes. Stories change. Everybody starts telling the fucking truth. I mean, ultimately, that's what occurs.
Well, that's what this country misses, is prior to the 24-hour news channels was just journalists that reported the news, and that was it, without an inflection of voice, without an agenda. Just, here's the news.
Where's Peter Jennings?
Yeah, no shit.
Like I know where Peter Jennings is, but where are the guys like Peter Jennings, that reported.
Right. Yeah,
they didn't editorialize, they didn't opinionate, they didn't pontificate. They sent the information. They were like, this is what we know.
Yeah. They report, let them decide. They reported, and the people decided.
Yeah.
And the last time I ever remember a freaking Middle East peace treaty was freaking Carter, who made a big fucking deal out of it, even though he, one of the worst goddamn presidents that probably ever existed. But ultimately, that was his claim to fame. But you have a guy who freaking brought, like now, I mean, I'm talking about now, like everybody's fighting, everybody's killing each other and shit. He brought all these countries together and freaking had an agreement. And what are we talking about? Oh, it's a distraction because of COVID, because of this, because of that. Look, COVID is nothing else than a fucking disease. Ultimately, people are going to die. Sorry, but you know what? People die every fucking day. Too bad. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if somebody in your family died. There was no way of freaking preventing it. It happened. It spread. You know, it's just going to be the way it is. Fucking pull your fucking britches up and freaking let's move on and freaking let's just all be happy. But no, we just keep going with this goddamn COVID. I'm like, dude, really? And then now they're politicizing it now, like with the vaccine and this and that. Fuck it, we're not in the military. I'll fucking line up, fucking give me a shot. If I have a reaction like I did during freaking Desert Shield, Desert Storm,
smallpox, the flu shot that you got every year.
Yeah, like anthrax shot.
Anthrax.
That was issued to us
in Desert Storm.
Desert Storm.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, it fucked me up. Like
I tell people that all the time. I'm like, not in my records. Never got put in my medical records. That platoon sergeant made me line up in front of that Humvee, and every one of us got stuck. We don't know what it was. We just know that somebody didn't approve it, and we got it. And I went back and looked and never was there. So when the anthrax shot came out when I went to Afghanistan, they were like, "You want the anthrax?" And I'm like, "No, I got it years ago. Mine's good forever."
Yep. Yep, I'm good. So we had those anthrax and the white pills and this pill, and you know they talked about the Desert Shield syndrome. What was that syndrome?
Yeah, Gulf War syndrome. Yeah,
Gulf War.
Yeah. Everything was called, but I was like, God damn.
Yeah, the PB tablets. Remember all that stuff they broke out because of chemical warfare. And we're like, where was this in my NBC training? Oh no, this is the real shit. You got to take these pills and take this and do this. Like we never trained that way. I just got in a gas chamber. You told me I was good.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean I got changed?
It's supposed to protect me for the rest of my life. But no, I mean, seriously, I mean, I don't know, man. It's just like the media just twists everything and gets people spooled up, and it makes freaking neighbors hate neighbors.
Yeah,
and
family.
Ultimately, that's what it comes down to.
And family hate family.
And that's the sad part is like, and I've noticed that with myself. When I see someone putting, you know, like I'm going to use an example that, you know, is kind of like when I see a bumper sticker that says 9/11 was a hoax, and I'm using that as an example, it's because like I find myself judging that person, looking down on them, and then, you know, like being like, you're not that intelligent. Like, and I think, and it almost in like I don't want to use the term superiority, but I'm like, I find comfort in the fact that I know that I'm smarter than them, but then I'm distressed in the fact that they exist and they believe that.
And they vote and they procreate.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, like, you know, hundreds of millions of people watch that happen live. Yeah.
Well, it's the same people that think the Holocaust was a hoax, that think that was made up. That it was just like, come on, you know. It's like,
yeah. I mean,
I don't know what the motivation is.
I was trying to think of a good example because when you're going down the road and you see somebody with a certain like political statement on their vehicle, I find myself now even judging them, going like, really, you're dumb, and that's, you know, the media's definitely plays a role and can take credit in the fact that we now think that way. I'm a Canadian. I grew up in Canada. I never once looked at things racially. And now, because of like the influence that the media's had in my life, you know, like I found myself like thinking racially, and not in a hateful way, but just being present, like, oh, that's probably because they're twisting it this way. They're twisting it that way. I shouldn't say this because it could be misconstrued. Like, I should be able to say whatever I want to say. Like, that's what the First Amendment, that's why I came to this country.
Right.
Yeah. But like they've led that conversation, but I digress. And
well, the only thing I got to say about, you know, being in the military and been around for a lot of places and been all over where I've been, I can honestly say racism is taught. We teach racism. It's taught.
Yeah.
Racism doesn't happen because a white kid and a black kid can freaking grow up together and not know the fucking difference until they go around people who are racist. And then they're like, oh, you can't talk to that kid because he's white. You can't talk to that because he's black. You got to hang out with us because I'm this. You got to, and that's the thing. And again, it go back to like this whole, all the riots and shit. All it is race baiting. All it is freaking riot, freaking instigators. I mean, ultimately, like I said, I mean, they want to go to war. You want a freaking race war. You want this. Just understand, if you're a leader, you're the first person that's going to be taken out. That's
small,
tactics
small.
101. Tactics 101. So I hope you got a good freaking security system, or you have a good security force, because, you know, a JDAM's going to fucking drop in your fucking house. And it doesn't matter if you're there with your family. It doesn't matter if you're with your kids. It don't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. So if you want to be a leader of fucking chaos and anarchy and all that shit, great, fine. Fucking, you know, do your piece. But you're my first target. Fucking tactics 101.
That's right. So, no, it's funny. It's funny you mention that, right? I grew up after we lived in Panama. After we moved to Arizona, living there. I mean, I remember when I left there, I was in middle school, and we had like a prom king and queen or something like that. And he was black and she was white, and no one thought nothing about it. It was not even. It wasn't even. And this was in early '80s, right? Late '70s, early '80s.
Correct.
It wasn't even a thought. It wasn't until I moved somewhere else, which was heavily segregated, and started bringing it up. And I was like, people were, you know, oh, well, that's where the, you know, black people are, where they go, and we do this and that kind of stuff. Like, what? And I was like that, you know, in Arizona, it's I mean, you got everything, right? It's all mixture. But
right.
This is early. There wasn't even, no one looked at it and said, oh, she's white, or oh, he's black. It was like, oh, that's our prom king and queen or whatever. And it just it shocked me as I went on. I grew older, how people, you know, not as bad as it is now, but still, you started to, you know, in conversation and topic, you picked up on it. You're like, I never thought that was a thing. Like, so what, you know? And it is now. When and a lot of it is, it's not racism from one side, it's racism from all sides. Some people refer to it as reverse racism, but it's just as bad reverse racism, where it's like, oh, well, if you're not black, you can't do that. Oh, if you're not black, you can't. We got this private group. I mean, we see segregation happening now on universities and places. What we fought for, what everyone fought for in the 50s, 60s to get rid of, now minorities want to have just their area. Like, that's what the hell that's why they sat at the lunch counter at the Woolworths to get rid of. That's why they got on the buses when they weren't supposed to. They drank out of the water fountain they were supposed to get rid of that. And in 2020, in 2019 and 2020, we have groups now that want to segregate and split apart. Well, you're white, so you can't be part of this group. This is only for black people, or only for this, or only for that. It's like, how the hell are we going backwards?
That's not racism, because it doesn't count, because racism was taught. Racism was taught between black and white. Every other freaking race doesn't matter. I'm telling you, it's taught. It's ingrained in people's heads. It's taught. There's no way, like, I mean, Jesus Christ, how many times have we been downrange? I don't give a fuck what color you are. Because Jesus Christ, you fucking watch my back, I give two fucks. But that's the thing. When people have to fight, there ain't no goddamn racism. When people have to fucking save each other's life, there ain't no fucking racism. There is no.
We've talked about it on
here.
here.
Freaking human-created word, and it's designed to control people.
Yeah, we've talked about it on here.
People are naturally going to move to their own kind. Got it. You know, freaking animals do that shit. I mean, Jesus Christ, it's instinctive. But now they gave it a word. It's racism. Well, all of a sudden you say something. Oh, you're racist. No, I'm not racist. You know what? I don't think I'm racist, but ultimately I don't fucking like you because you're an asshole. Yeah. You know, that's what I don't like.
Yes.
You know, so if you want to call that racism, then fine. But you're a fucking dick, or you're an asshole. You know, I'm prejudiced because I don't deal with fucking dick. You know, with assholes.
Right.
So I'm not racist. But, you know, I am prejudiced against fucking assholes. And you're an asshole, so fucking move on.
I think you helped write Team America. Did you help write the script for Team America? Because I think you might have. You've been part of that.
Oh, no. I'm drinking beer, so it just kind of gets me going.
No, but you're right. I mean, it is. We've talked about it on here. We all three of us know, and a lot of our listeners and viewers know. You want to find an example of diversity? This is the U.S. military. No, and it's just it's not diversity of races. It's diversity. You bring a dude from Boston and somebody from Alabama and someone from California, you put them in the same squad or team together. And oh, by the way, they may be black, Hispanic, Puerto Rican, Canadian, whatever. It doesn't matter. There's no better example of diversity in the workforce than the U.S. military, where you get brought into high intensity, sometimes very dangerous situations, and you have to depend, ultimately, possibly depend on, put each other's lives in each other's hands. And like you said, when you were medevacing people out, you didn't look back and say, oh, look at that black guy, white guy, Puerto Rican guy, Mexican, nothing, right? It was a soldier or a person that was, and maybe even a local national where you were, that was dying in the back, or that you were helping treat or whatever. We don't think about that shit. And if we look at 9/11, no one thought about that when they were helping each other as the towers were falling down behind them and people were running for their lives.
They couldn't tell that everyone's too dusty.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean,
of course, everybody. You know what? Everybody turned into dust. I mean, that's what it was. Everybody was dusty because ultimately we all turned into fucking dust. How the song goes. So. But no one gave a fuck. But everybody was helping everybody.
Yeah,
there you go.
But that's what it just shouldn't take a national. We see this a lot. When we see a hurricane hit, people of all races and types and genders and sexualities and religions run out and try to help each other. When we see a natural disaster, when we see floodings hit. I mean, Toby's been down. They've been down in Louisiana, a couple places, helping bail these people out and doing stuff with the Cajun Navy and all that stuff. We see the fires out, and we talked about in California. People are helping each other because we're people and good people, even if they're dick most of the time. And during that time, we help each other because that's our human nature, right? No one's caring about that. You don't go up and say, "Oh, I can help you and put the fire out right now." Oh, you're black. I'm not gonna. No, you're gonna jump in and say, "Dude, let me help you out." Because that's if you're a decent person of any kind of character, that's what you're going to do. But you're right.
But ultimately, that's what it comes down to. But it comes down to upbringing. Yeah. So in the cities, there's no upbringing. It's fucking chaos. Yeah. There's no fucking culture. They call it, oh, New York is like the freaking whatever of culture. It's a fucking shithole. I mean, seriously, every fucking city who's ever fucking gone up in flames was nothing but a fucking shithole. I'm sorry. I mean, I've been around the world. I mean, goddamn Baghdad, where fucking, I don't know, civilization started. It's a fucking shithole. You know why? Because they've been fighting each other forever. Sunnis and Shiites. For what? For what? It's a fucking shithole. And then we're trying to save these shitholes. It's just a fucking big shithole of fucking people who hate each other. And then you have people who just fucking thrive on fucking creating chaos and creating people to fucking hate each other. I'm not a kumbaya kind of guy, but goddamn, you fucking look at me with disrespect or you say something to me, you better be fucking ready to throw down. I don't give a fuck if you're a liberal. I don't give a fuck about what you are.
And you're not a fighter. I mean, that's the thing.
No, I'm not a fighter. But seriously, I mean, it's just like, dude, eventually the fucking dam's gonna break and there's gonna be chaos. And the first people who are gonna fucking whine is gonna be like, where's the police? Wisconsin's already, their whole entire freaking city council is on TV saying, where's the police? Where's the police? Where's the police? Oh, wait, the ones that you fucking made a freaking big old fucking scenario to defund them. Well, here you go, bitch. You know what you get rid of? You get rid of the fucking who defunded them. If I was a fucking chief of police for that fucking city, I would be like, I want a public fucking apology from every one of you before I get my fucking officers out there and fucking start freaking forcing law to happen. Other than that, you created this fucking eat this shit sandwich, as we do say in the military.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, man, we went a long time tonight. Yeah, it's all right. We went a long time. We covered a lot of topics. I mean, Rob, our unpaid producer, said there was no topics off limit with you, and that's for sure. They want to thank you a lot, man. It was great hearing about your career. I mean, what a unique thing with you and your twin brother. And I mean, that's not something we see too often or hear about. And just having you on and going all this, man. It was great having you on tonight, man. I want to thank you for that.
Man. I appreciate it. Sorry if I was over like crazy. So.
No, dude, no. You may have earned your spot of repeated callback. We may want to cut you back.
Yeah, you know what? I stay tuned to freaking topics and I give my opinions. So,
yeah, well, we're here. You're quite you like putting your line in the water and doing a little fishing every once in a while too.
Yeah,
so.
You and I need to get some fishing, man.
Yeah,
Texas redfish. It's a challenge. Love it.
That's it.
Chasing tail, man. That's a passion. It's a pastime.
But well, sounds good. Well, hey, stay on for a few minutes if you could, man. We are going to we're going to wrap up, and then we'll just chat for a couple minutes after. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Toby, you got any final words before I play us out here?
No, just a big shout out to everyone that got hit by the hurricane. You know, it went right through Gulf Shores there, and you know, that's where Junior Nunn lives, and so, you know, glad everyone's like doing okay down there. But it's been a hell of a year, man. It's been a hell of a year.
Thank goodness it's mid-September. We just got a couple more months to get out of this one, man. Holy shit!
Thanks to our sponsors, of course, Enlisted 9 Fight Company. You can find them on 9lineapparel.com under collections. Enlisted 9 Fight Company. KermodyOutdoors.com, dropping that fall line next Wednesday. Dropping that fall line.
Okay.
So make sure you get out and get you some of that. And then everyone else, Warrior Media Solutions, BooHammer.com, and of course the nonprofits that we recognize, Veteran Outdoors. Leaving tomorrow on a Veteran Outdoors hunt. We're gonna go kill some dinosaurs in South Texas, and that's right. Yeah, Victoria gonna lay the smacketh down on some dinosaurs, lizards. You know, I'm gonna dress up as one of those guys from the old television movie V, you know, and I'm gonna go smack some lizards down. But Veterans for Child Rescue, big shout out to them, of course. Second to the last leave, the Bruner Foundation, and of course Pin Up for Vets. Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation. We appreciate everything you guys do. Love y'all.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night, and we'll see y'all here next Thursday here at 8 o'clock Eastern. Stu and the Nun. Well, that wraps up another episode of the Stu and the Nun Show, and we hope you had as much fun listening to it as we did hosting it for you. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. You can find all these links at stewandthenun.com. We will talk to you again next Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. Also, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Kermody Outdoors, Veteran Outdoors, Enlisted 9 Fight Company, Warrior Media Solutions, and BooHammer.com. Thank you again, and have a good night.